Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Tuesday, and I just wanted to say hello. And if you can see behind me, you should be able to see the frost on my husband's one vehicle. So yeah, we had a frost here last night. It's a little heavier. We had some just little bit in some of the more shaded areas, but this is the whole grass is covered with frost, and it's a bit nippy out here this morning, but it is a glorious sunny day. It's supposed to get up in the upper 50s here. This is really extraordinary for where we live. This is just such a blessing. But anyways, I just wanted to check in, say good morning. Hope you guys are going to have a great Tuesday, and I will talk to you after a little bit. Well, I noticed that no, you could not see the frost on my husband's vehicle. And now that I'm looking at the grass, you really can't tell there is a frost at all. But yeah, there is. Maybe up on the roof you can see? Yeah, I think so. But yeah, we did. We had a nice frost. I guess that Jack Frost will be nipping at our toes before long. Well, I don't know whether or not you're going to be interested in this, but this is chives. And if you look in the bottom corner of your screen, you'll see a purple flower. And that's because my chives are still blooming. And this will stay green and lush all the way through until about February. And then once the snow is melted back significantly enough, it will still start growing immediately. It never really dies totally down. And the reason that is if you can see that black pipe going into our home there in the upper middle of your screen there, that is the pipe from our outdoor furnace that takes the water, the heat from the water, and it runs along here. I'll show you. It runs from our furnace, and it comes right around here, and it just follows straight like this all the way to where those chives are, where that black pipe is. And so that entire area of the ground up here, because it's coming up out of the ground into the house, keeps the ground warm. And so these chives never really die back. They're just always green, like I said, until there's so much snow that will pile up on top of them that we can't get to them. But then once they start to melt back, they'll be green and lush and growing. And I can have chives right about 10 months out of the year, fresh chives. And I did not do this on purpose. I had planted the chives there long before we got our furnace, about 3 years before we got our furnace. So yeah, it's just been a kind of a neat experience to see that this doesn't really ever die back. It's always kind of blooming and going on. I thought that was interesting. Well, hello again. Yeah, it's getting dark out here. It is just a little bit before or a little bit after 5 o'clock, I believe. That's just a guess because I really didn't look at the clock. But I know it's not 6 o'clock because I need to turn the coffee on at 6 o'clock. So I just thought I'd come out here and get a little bit of fresh air, let the girls out. They wanted to go out. And yeah, I tell you, this afternoon, I don't know what happened, but I was not feeling well at all. I laid down on the couch for a little while, and actually I fell asleep for maybe about, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes or so, and got up. I was feeling better. I was just feeling really like all the energy was drained out of me for some reason, even though I have done nothing to, make me be tired at all. And it wasn't like my eyes were tired. It was just more like I just felt drained. But anyways, feeling fine now. I made myself a cup of tea here. And so yeah, we're just going to sit out here and enjoy the fresh air. And I'm sure the girls will want to smell all those wonderful smells before it gets dark. And then it'll be time for my husband to get up, and I'll be getting him off to work, and my day will just about be over. Anyways, I will talk to you later tonight. Hope you had a good one. Missy just went tearing back there, and I turned on the camera real quick, but I do not see at all what she could have thought she heard. I have a feeling it might have been something on the other side there where you see the weeds growing up. There is a small drainage ditch that circles right around at the end of that grass, right behind these evergreen trees here, and stops right there at that one. And, well, actually, the one behind that one's actually in the yard, but it just kind of borders the grass area. This is actually a bit of a downward slope, so in the spring, when the snow is melting, the runoff of water, the yard was just horrible. It was constantly wet, wet, wet. And so we were told to put like a drainage ditch. So we have it on that side where you see there, and then we have it also, here, let me show you. We also have it behind the shed, and then you can see that is all the way down, bordering the yard, and it continues to go down all the way to the road. So that has helped immensely for us not to have a backyard that is constantly wet until it gets really hot. So anyways, that also helps because it's like a barrier. The dogs they don't go beyond that. That also helps keep them safer. But yeah, I think that she heard something back there because she got very interested, but now she's just sniffing. And Mindy's just standing over there. Mindy Lou, what are you doing, Toodles? What are you doing? Actually, I nicknamed her Toodles because it rhymed with Mindy Lou, Toodaloo. And then I looked up in the dictionary that Toodle means to walk slowly at a leisurely pace. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is so much Mindy Lou, because she just does not want to walk fast. I mean, really, the only time she wants to run and walk quickly is if there is food involved. So yeah, otherwise it's a leisurely pace. She's my beautiful girl, though. Isn't she beautiful? Oh, yes, she's a good girl, too. Yes, she is. Honestly, it's getting quite chilly out here. I'm trying to reach for my tea. I don't know if you could see that, but I didn't quite make it with my hand. Didn't realize how far away it was. But, yeah, we're going to have to go in. The temperature has taken a big dip since the sun's gone down, and I didn't put a coat on or anything, so I think it's time to go in. I need to check the time anyways. So, time to turn that coffee maker on. Talk to you later. Well, good evening. I hope you're doing wonderful on this Tuesday night. And I feel a lot better than I did earlier, that's for sure. I think that cup of tea helped too. And made myself a small salad, so I had that. And I'm feeling fine. I'm a little tired, but I'm feeling much better. One of the things that I was wanting to talk about is to actually continue talking about is the attributes of God. And mercy is an attribute of God. And I think that we have a misconception that we think that the Old Testament is a book of severity and the law, and the New Testament is more of a book on God's tenderness and God's grace. But do you realize that while both the Old and the New Testament declare the mercy of God, that it actually, the mercy of God appears in the Old Testament over 4
times more often than in the New. I think for some people that's hard to believe, but it's actually quite true. God is exactly the same. He hasn't changed. His mercy is no greater or lesser now than it ever was. And the other thing that I kind of wanted to discuss, and this is again in the book, The Attributes of God by A.W. Tozer, and this is what he says. He says, the mercy of God has never been any more than it is now, for the simple reason that the mercy of God is infinite, and anything that is infinite can't be less than it is, and it can't be more than it is. It is infinite, boundless, unlimited. It has no measurements on any side. Measurements are created things, and God is uncreated. I like that. I thought that was really good. And he goes on to say that, for instance, the cross of Christ, when Jesus died on the cross, the mercy of God did not become any greater. It could not become any greater, for it was already infinite. We get the odd notion that God is showing mercy because Jesus died. No, Jesus died because God is showing mercy. It was the mercy of God that gave us Calvary, not Calvary that gave us mercy. If God had not been merciful, there would have been no incarnation, no babe in the manger, no man on the cross, and no open tomb. That's a lot to take in. And he says, and yet there are attributes of God that can be needed more at various times. That's why the mercy of God is so wonderful to a sinner who comes home that he wants to write about and talk about it forever. It was what he needed so desperately at the moment. We sing Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, and yet the grace of God is not any greater than the justice of God or the holiness of God. But for people like you and me, it is what we needed the most desperately. It isn't God who is different. It's us. I just thought that was beautiful. And it made me think of a song. I actually had to go into our spare bedroom's closet, and I have this bag in there of cassette tapes that were music that you could sing with, acoustical tapes. And the very first acoustical tape, actually I believe it was my second one that I ever bought, was called Mercy Called Me by Name. And it was probably the very first song that I ever sung that actually I sung it because I understood it. I sung it as a saved young woman, understanding the words, and that meant something to me. And I wanted to read you just 2 verses. It says, just one of the common, no title to hold, and no great distinction pinned to my soul. Alone and defeated, no hope could be seen until something happened at Calvary's tree, when mercy sought me and called me by name. God's mercy called me by name. Guilty, unworthy, to Jesus I came. When his mercy called me, he called me by name. And now in the Lamb's book of life I am found, redeemed by his blood, my name's written down. Joint heirs with Jesus, I'm a child of the King. But the greatest of wonders is still this one thing. When mercy sought me and called me by name, God's mercy called me by name. And how true that is. Before we know Christ and yield to him as our Savior, it was the mercy of God. It was that attribute that we clung to. When my little boy Timmy died, it was the attribute of love, God's love, that he had to teach me the real meaning, because I had it all mixed up. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that yet. But I just wanted to leave that with you, because God's attribute of mercy is one that each and every one of us can identify with. It's one that each and every one of us can embrace, because it's needed so badly. So with that, I want to leave you with the remembrance that life happens. Let's enjoy it. Cling to God's mercy. His mercy is available to each and every one of us. All you have to do is call out and ask, and he will call back your name. God bless. I'll talk to you tomorrow.